offline. Okay, then let's start with the items from last meeting. So the pull request for the new JOT certificate is merged. Most consumers of CF deployment should see no effect because you have to manually activate key 2. It's just that it interferes with our credential rotation, but that is our problem.
So UAA team's problem, most likely.
The UAA team's problem.
Yeah.
So no big change for the community. Update infrastructure jobs were orange because the state was not pushed. This is all fixed. Yeah, manually, because if state is lost, you have to destroy everything and so on. Postgres update to version 15 is released, but not as a major release. And yeah, I've added a hint to the CF deployment release notes that you may have to expect a longer downtime. So far, no feedback from the community, so seems to work. Carson presented 2 pull requests for automatically updating the cloud controller info data for the v3 endpoint. And I think after some small, here is coming. After a few reworks, this is now in. And we have now an automatic update of builds and version numbers in the manifest. And these should be shown if you call the v3 endpoints. Hi, Carson.
Hi, Carson.
We're just going over last meeting's items. Another pull request for automatic CFCLI Windows bumps. This is also merged. Yeah, okay. So in short, everything from last meeting is done and there are no problems. Good. Then let's come to today's agenda. I don't have too much. So we wanted to check the cost saving in the GCP account because this cat smoke test environment is now destroyed after each validation run and then deployed again. So not constantly running. And yeah, well, okay, if you interpret this chart, you see a small effect. So we are saving a little bit of cost. This is the past 3 months, and compared to April and June, we are saving around 10%. Okay, good. So I think we are on the right track, but so far, no one complained about all this cost. So it seems to be not too much. Okay. Update releases. If you carefully inspect the update releases pipeline, you notice that there are still 2 orange jobs. Orange here means when we set up the new concourse, it didn't work at all. And at first, everything was orange. But the releases that got updates turned green over time. Just those 2, the the CF up SD release and the Garden Windows release have not been updated. And indeed, it seems that, or it doesn't seem, it is the case that both of those are deprecated, so there are no new releases. This has been integrated into CF networking. And the other one, get the URL, is also archived and likely moved to another Bosch project. So in short, I would take out those two from the update releases pipeline. I couldn't find any reference in CF deployment anymore. So they are
Awesome.
pretty likely not used anywhere. Yeah.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, luckily, yeah, we had this trouble with the orange job, so you see what has not been updated. Yeah, but for other jobs, for other releases, which will not be updated anymore in the future, we will have to look more closely and check if there are no more incoming updates, then remove them. Okay, then we had a small discussion about the meaning of CF deployment major versioning. So far, we use major versions to indicate incompatible changes, like moved ops files, or changing job instance group names or something like that. Now there are a few database migrations in the CAPI release upcoming, which have to be deployed in steps. So there will be a kind of preparation step and then later the final migration, and you can't skip the preparation check. And now there was a discussion if we release those as major versions and change or enhance the semantics of major versions a little bit, so that it means you have to deploy every major version, and you can't skip any major version, otherwise your deployment could break. So this would mean an enhancement of the meaning of major versions. And before we just did this with the release notes, telling users, if you want to deploy this version, make sure you have deployed that version before. And yes, I wanted to collect your opinion on this. Should we change the semantics of major versions, or does this make not much sense?
Can you reiterate why we would need to change the semantics of the major version to indicate that they should proceed one by one with some subset of releases? I'm not sure I understand that.
I think this is the case for other releases, also outside of Cloud Foundry, so that when you release a new version, you can assume that your consumers have deployed all major versions in order. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but you know, certain prerequisites have been fulfilled if you want to now do this and that. We can't really be sure of that. So when we later in the year release this CAPI database migrations, we have to tell users, please make sure you have deployed the first migration step at least once, otherwise you will break your deployment.
Yeah, okay.
It's a runtime downtime, actually, if I remember correctly. So the old CAPI version, let's say that is released now, 1.6.1 or whatever, prepares it. And if you have deployed it, then something that we are going to release in 3 months, I think that's the agreement with Greg. Now, then everything will run fine. If you forgot and you make a jump update, then it you will have a downtime, basically.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that kind of fits within the semantic versioning we already have then, isn't it? Because there's a breaking chain. One of the semantic requirements for a major version is app or operator downtime, right? So we could release either do my major with one major having the pre version, the
Right.
pre thing, or just do,
Mhm.
and then the next one having the like actual change,
Mhm.
or consider the pre thing. If it doesn't cause any app or operator downtime, we could just do it as a patch and then have a major that's like, you should upgrade to at least this version before you upgrade to this major, or else you will have a lot of downtime. Something along those lines. I'm good either way, but I don't think we need to change the semantic description
Yeah,
of a major
I mean,
Up
release, I
downtime
guess.
is already inside. That's true. Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
refer
we should
to-
add one sentence where we say we
Oh.
guarantee only that you can update from one major version to the next, but you cannot go to N+2. That may or may not work, but we won't. This is maybe something we should.
That's
add.
a solid. I think that's a solid change. Just putting it here though is probably not enough to make operators aware of it though, right? We probably want to advertise, if we do make that change, we probably want to advertise it in the Slack or maybe the CFDev mailing list. I don't know, probably the Slack.
Mhm.
But that sounds like a good change to me. Like, we've definitely had people come to us before saying, "Oh, I was on V18 and I upgraded to V32, and now this isn't working." I'm like, "What? What do you want us to do here?" That's like,
Indeed
maybe
happens.
go, yeah,
We had a few Slack threads where people updated from very old versions, and it was really for us impossible to tell which versions in between they would have to deploy to get
Yeah.
the thing running again. Okay, so there's no need to yeah, okay, if you refer to this clause here, then indeed, yeah, we would not have to change the definition of major revision. Yeah, that's actually true. So
Well, Stefan suggested change of like specifying that, we can only, you should be specifying that we sort of expect an N+1 deployment
okay.
style.
Mhm.
Sounds reasonable to me, as long as we broadcast that.
Okay, good. So, okay, we can phrase it like this. We expect users to deploy all major versions in order to avoid any trouble. And
yeah,
for our database change, we should explicitly mention it in the release notes that if you need this version, you need the preparation step.
Yeah,
that sounds good to me. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. This just came up because copy release itself does not have a bigger semantics on versioning, as I understand. We are heavily working on this database migration stuff, and it turned out it's many smaller pieces. Okay, good.
Real quick on that, because there's like, just spitballing here, but we've been talking about how we can advertise that users or operators would need to go from one CAPI release to like have one CAPI release minimum before they go to another CAPI release, right? But theoretically, there could be an in-code way to do those kind of things, right? We have a deployment manifest. CAPI itself can run arbitrary code inside of its jobs, and I don't know, Bosch. Maybe there's a feature opportunity for Bosch here. I don't know, but just thinking, spitballing here, like it'd be pretty cool if you could say, yeah,
on some level.
Yeah, where we could actually, fail your deployment pretty quickly and just set the state back if
Yeah.
you try and upgrade
Yeah.
incompatible versions. It's probably not worth spending a ton of time on, but I don't know. Maybe it's worth calling out to the foundational infrastructure folks as like something cool that Bosch could do, or is like a
Yeah.
real simple idea. Maybe I don't know if Cappy has the ability to check if the migration has been done, but Cappy
Yes.
could theoretically fail itself on upgrade
Yes.
if it could
That-
detect.
I think that's easily possible, and we discussed
Yeah.
actually this in Capi with Greg,
Okay.
and he said, well, it's he would favor to have then the downtime. I mean, it's a CF API
Okay.
downtime, and that's less impact usually instead of suddenly breaking the whole update.
Fair.
It's
That's
not an
fair.
application downtime, but it's in CF API, so it's a lifecycle downtime, and that's negotiable. I mean, there is a way to have it in the nice way, and we leave 3 months, so we will merge these migrations, I think, in mid of December only. Makes it slow, but okay. There were similar things where it was not noticed, for instance, between the API and the workers. I mean, they have this Ruby model interchange, and for instance, if there's a Rails update, very bad things can happen, and you don't find this out in the tests because you have these scenarios not in your CI. Very,
Okay.
very ugly stuff. And I would also not overpromise too much with this version updates, because we don't test these updates, right? We test from one minor version to the next minor version. That one works. We do not consciously break one major version to the next major version, but we allow for conscious breaks from n to n+2. I mean, that's all what we say and test and guarantee.
This is true. That all makes sense. And if Greg's response sounds reasonable. That makes sense for running arbitrary code on Cappy release. I may still reach out to foundational infrastructure about this kind of thing from a Bosch level, because that's an interesting idea. And yes, you're right. So one thing about the n to n+2 is it's not necessarily major to major, right? It's just one version to the next, because that's really all we test in our pipelines is upgrade from version to version. Interesting.
So when we phrase this in the version document, maybe we should review that a few times, that we do not, or that we at least say what we test, what we don't test, and what we intend to do, so that I remember in the very old times there were, I think, Google Docs documents sent around for every major CF deployment version. Forgot the name, but somebody from VMware did a good and put good job and put a lot of effort in communicating around and asking for feedback and all this. But again, whatever you do, it's only best effort, and you try to avoid it. But the version vectors, they explode. You cannot test everything.
You can't test every upgrade path, and we only test the direct upgrade to the previous released version. Which is also good.
There is maybe an argument that we could introduce an upgrade path of major to last major to this major, but it's probably not worth it. I don't know. No one's been calling. It doesn't come up often enough to feel worth it yet, but that could be another path if we feel like if we're pretty confident in our minor releases not being important changes, then maybe there's an argument that our upgrade path should be last major to current rather than last minor to current. Just a thought.
Just thinking about whether it's worth to write an RFC about it, because then if we do that, then every team knows about it, because it's not just Capi, it's also Diego has databases, and routing doesn't have databases, but they have sometimes certificate changes, which also involved several update steps. So it's good that if everybody knows about that. And
that's an interesting idea, because I know I'm pretty confident from working on some of the components that at least some maintainers throughout this organization view major release, like when they want to release. I'm just thinking, like as an example, the syslog agent change where it switched to allow for MTLS, for example. That was a staged upgrade where it was like, wait for this thing, which is a prerequisite to no downtime, to get released in a major version. As soon as that's released in a major version, we're okay to release the next thing, because then everyone will already, we can guarantee that like probably everyone's going to get there, you know? And that's not actually the way that we're testing things right now or portraying it to people. So yeah, those are good call outs.
Then we may get a little bit more feedback or requests to increase the major version, but that's fine. I mean,
cool.
It would not be nice if we have then every week a new major version.
Yeah.
Again, to the extreme, and it's probably not.
Lots of major revisions. Okay.
We will see.
Okay. So do we need any, except rephrasing the existing release documentations, do we need any follow-ups on this, or is it good enough for the moment?
I mean, we could start with changing this version document and sending out a Slack message and on CF developers. And if then a big discussion comes up, then we say, okay, we go for a full RFC, and that's it. I can also bring it to the attention in the TOC meeting and ask for feedback if somebody wants to formalize it. But let's start with a low ceremony, and then we.
Yeah, at least this has not, the versioning has not been a problem for anyone.
Yeah,
that's true.
Except for users who stick to very old versions and then want to try update all at once, and but they also seem to be happy with some workaround suggestions and did not care very much about downtime. So this was probably a half productive ready Cloud Foundry installation. I guess the productive consumers already do it the right way. Yeah, but nevertheless, can't hurt asking for feedback. Then I will do this.
Interesting how that works out for VMware, actually, for the private cloud installations. So let's see what feedback comes. Because we are now more or less telling those customers, you cannot update from, or you have tested it explicitly. I mean, that's all fine. But from CF deployment point of view, we say, well, interesting things can happen. It doesn't change technically. It was the same stuff in the past, but if you update, I don't know, do you update your customers every 2 weeks or every major version, or are there bigger gaps like half years between? That's interesting. At least there could be a discussion. But
okay, then let's start a small discussion and gather some feedback. This would be all agenda points from my side. There's nothing new yet on FIPS stem cell. It's too early, but when that one is ready, we will need a new validation.
Exactly. That would be my other question. If there are some rumors already about this FIPS stem cell, I think it arrived now from Canonical, but the Bosch team has to do.
As soon as someone shows me an S3 bucket where this stem cell resides and where we can consume it, then we can plan steps.
Exactly.
In particular, I also need to know what about credentials and could this be a public pipeline or not? So there are a few questions how we handle this license, have to handle the license correctly. But right now, there's nothing new. Okay, so any other business from your side?
I had a personal update. I adopted some kittens. They're pretty cute.
Oh.
Wow.
Cute.
Yeah. Look at this guy. He's a little demon right now. He's just on kitten time. but
Mhm.
very energetic. But he's pretty cute, so he makes up for it. That's all I got. Nothing else. Oh, actually, sorry, I just remembered. We've got a couple Docker file bumps imminent that I wanted to call out for, I guess, pipeline changes. The Go 121 was released, so I've been holding off on merging the CFDCT and Runtime CI change to bump the Docker file to use Go 121 instead of Go 120.
Okay.
Do we feel like a significant enough amount of time has passed to where we can bump to that? I can also, before we bump to it, we probably should make sure that we've cut minor versions of both of those things so that all of our tasks are using the latest stuff, and then we can cut a major to give some people time, like
You
more
mean
time to upgrade.
CF deployment concourse tasks?
I
And
think Runtime CI would be the other, the smaller image that we use in some of the our pipelines.
This one.
Irrelevant base, I guess. Yeah.
It's not. Yeah,
not that
I know
one.
what you
Build
mean.
Docker images. Yeah.
Somewhere here.
That. Yeah,
Here.
that's the base
Yeah,
image.
okay.
That's the Bosch CLI image. And then the CFDCT one is the other one. I don't know if we actually cut releases of those two, but we just use the latest of Runtime CI and Bosch CLI, but other people depend upon them too. So I've been holding off bumping to Go 121 in all three of those until we hit some critical mass of most people are on Go 121.
Yeah.
The nice part about Go 121 is hopefully in the future, moving forward, this kind of thing becomes less of an issue because Go 121 introduces forward and backward compatibility with the Go language. So it's going to, from now on, like with Go 121, hopefully it should download and use the correct Go version for whatever your module declares, which is kind of nice. But it also introduces, if you're still using Go 120 on a project, introducing Go 121 to your module can break shit because it introduces a new Go mod line called toolchain, I think. Yeah.
Yes,
and
we already noticed.
Okay. Huge pain in the ass. Yeah, huge pain in the ass. But I mean, I get it. The forward and backward compatibility is super nice, but just a little scared of that. I think CF smoke tests has already broken some GitHub actions because of that change. Yeah.
Indeed, it did also for us. We also noticed a bit late in our CF update that this was introduced and requires Go 121. So we had to revert this CF smoke test revision to an older revision to make it work for now. Yes, so this may be critical here. But okay, from this version on, then Go guarantees some forward and backward compatibility, which sounds very good. Yeah. Okay.
That was one part of it. If we're feeling good about Go 121 now, I can look to merge those PRs. The other part of it is that CFDCT concourse image, if you go to concourse Docker file, if you go to that, has a base that is no longer in support. We're based off Golang 120.5 Buster. And the other day, I realized that we weren't getting auto bumps for some reason, and we used to get auto bumps. I was confused, so I went to Docker Hub to check it out. They stopped supporting Buster as a base for the Golang Docker Hub official images. So we'll probably want to upgrade to either Bullseye or Bookworm as the base. I don't have strong opinions about which one to do. It looks like Bullseye is the next one, but Bullseye is also already the old stable release. So if we wanted to jump to the latest, it would be Bookworm. That's the current Debian stable release. However, I think that Bookworm is actually ahead of Jammy. Like Jammy is Ubuntu Jammy is, I think, based off of Bullseye. So I'm not sure if we want to be running our stuff in a Debian container that is theoretically ahead of what we're running everything else in our Bosch environments. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, this image is heavily used in all our pipelines, and incompatible changes will show up very quickly. So I don't have a good overview of what is a good basic Golang image.
I mean, we could use our own base if we want. I think that Buster is still in support as a base. It's just that the Golang images no longer support a Buster line. So we could keep doing Buster, but it seems easier to just upgrade to either Bullseye or Bookworm and figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Bullseye sounds like the less pain. And we will, I mean, it's half a step for sure, but if that one works out through, then we have half of the way, let's say it positively. And the other part, we can postpone a bit. Who knows? I mean, I guess next year, 24 beginning, we will start about discussion of CF Linux FS5 to do it maybe a bit earlier than last time, and then it's maybe the right time to discuss.
Bookworm, yeah, cool. That should work. I guess the only reason I brought up Bookworm at all is because I don't know what the Debian release cycles look like. They're non-standard. I think I don't think they declare releases and LTS stuff in the same way that Ubuntu does. They're just like, here's a release. Now everything else is 1 degree older, and we only maintain like the last 2, something like that. So if we use Bullseye, which I'm fine with, there's just a danger that prior to us upgrading to the next thing, they cut support for Bullseye. And then, but I guess at that point, we can just deal with Bookworm, whatever it presents. So, and probably they wouldn't, I doubt they can like fully cut support for Bullseye while Jammy and whatever's above Jammy still depend upon Bullseye. So, yeah. Right. So there's Bookworm, Bullseye, and Buster.
And old stable.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's still supported under LTS support, whatever that means. But yeah, the Golang official images have stopped supporting it. I think we're probably fine to move to just Bullseye. It moves us closer to, Buster corresponds roughly with Bionic, I think. Because the Ubuntu releases track Debian releases to some degree, but like they're not tied to them in any explicit way that I could find in the Ubuntu website. I'm just kind of trusting random Stack Overflow responses with that one. So it seems like we should be fine to move to Bullseye. That's what Jammy's based off of. It puts us close-ish to what we're deploying in Bosch. Is everyone cool with that? I can give that a shot.
I would say so, yes. Okay. And yeah, we'll quickly see in the pipelines if there is anything incompatible. So yeah, then just go ahead and then we'll see.
All right.
Yeah, we can revert in the worst case or pin the CF deployment concourse tasks image to a working version. So there's no big risk here.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't notice that we are so much that we are kind of on Bionic for our Docker images. Yeah, but good you brought this up. Okay. Which one was the other one was the runtime CI?
I don't know what the base for runtime CI is. Presumably it's also pretty old.
The Docker, yeah, yes. This is this one, right?
Oh, that one's already on Bullseye. Wow. Look at that.
Okay.
Weird. I didn't realize that our images were different from each other.
Yeah, okay, good. That was just a minor update.
You'd have to go keep going back in history to see when that changed. But
see this.
That's already Bullseye. Oh, look at that. I changed it. When is this? In January.
Yeah, but this image is less used, yeah. So
yeah.
Well, we are not under pressure whatsoever. So if you do the upgrade to Bullseye and then later to Bookworm, this should be fine.
Yeah. It's at least some nice validation that Bullseye probably won't blow up anything, right? Because we are using it some places in our pipeline.
This doesn't blow up anything. Yes, that's true.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay. Any other business for today? Okay, not. Then we are already done. Then have a nice evening or a nice day.
Thanks.
And see you again soon.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you soon.